Today I want to show you how to improve your IELTS speaking band score. As you may know, the IELTS speaking covers a lot of topics. It can be about family, jobs, holiday, places, etc. And for this reason, there are numerous questions that you can be asked in the IELTS speaking section. So, it's very important for you to get familiar with these topics before taking the test. There are many ways to do that, but I think practicing with eslpod.com is one of the best approaches. eslpod.com is a website that offers podcasts for English learners. A podcast is simply a recording of a person or people talking about a particular topic. ESLPod is such a perfect place for IELTS test takers because it covers lots and lots of topics. You can find almost everything there. By listening to these podcasts, you'll get familiar with many speaking topics and be ready for the IELTS. Furthermore, there are two special things about the eslpod.com that I know you love. First, it's very easy to understand because the speakers speak really slowly and clearly. Second, a lot of interesting words and conversational phrases are provided in each podcast. If you use these expressions in your answers, I can guarantee that the examiner will be very, very impressed. Now, let me tell you how to learn from eslpod.com. There are 3 easy steps. Step 1. Find the topic you want to learn about. IELTS speaking topics can be easily found in books and websites, but I already made a list of topics and you can download it using the link below. Now, if you want to practice speaking about family, for example, first go to eslpod.com. Then, in the search box on the left panel, type family and hit enter. You can see that there are more than 7 podcasts about family. Now, choose one podcast and start learning. Step 2. Listen and listen a lot. You can listen to the podcast online, but I suggest you download and put them in an MP3 player so that you can listen whenever you have some free time. Before you listen, however, make sure that you understand the podcast by reading the transcript and looking up new words. A good thing about ESLPod is that they do explain new words and expressions in each podcast. Reading the transcript and listening to the speaker's explanation will help you get better understanding of what the speaker is talking about. Again, make sure that you understand what you are listening to. In this step, all you need to do is listen and listen again until you are able to understand every single word spoken as well as the whole podcast. I strongly recommend doing this for a week or so. Do not rush. Even when you understand the podcast, keep listening because it helps you remember new expressions for long. Step 3. Mimic and talk to yourself. Now, it's time for you to master new expressions. In order to be able to use new expressions in your speaking, you have to actually use them in your speaking. It sounds ridiculous. However, if you want to learn new vocabulary items fast, you have to use them. You don't even need a partner because you can totally practice speaking with yourself. Very simple. You make sentences and use them to speak to yourself. Okay, I'm going to give you some demonstration. Report somebody missing. Of course you can understand this phrase easily, but in this podcast, if you report somebody missing, you are worried about somebody because you haven't seen them for a while or they have been out of touch and you start worrying about them. Now, I make a short story and speak to myself. Because I study in a city far away from my hometown, I don't have a lot of time to go back and visit my parents. They're really worried about me living alone in a big city, so I call them almost every day. And I always remind myself to do that before they report me missing. Have something coming out of your ears. If you have something coming out of your ears, you have too much of something. Now, I make some sentences and talk to myself. I really want to go to the movies with you guys, but, I have a lot of homework coming out of my ears at the moment. I always try to spend some time with my family at weekends because I have a lot of office work coming out of my ears on weekdays and no time for the kids. So, that's how you speak to yourself using phrases in the podcast. Remember, when you speak, try to imitate the native speaker's pronunciation and intonation. Well, you can do this when you are waiting for someone or something, or when you are writing. But make sure that you also pay attention on where you are going, okay? Or when you are taking a shower, I strongly recommend doing this in the bathroom because you sound much better in there. Just try it. Remember, when you talk to yourself, pretend that you are talking to a real person in a real situation. Putting some emotions in there will be perfect. Or you can pretend that you are talking to the IELTS speaking examiner. So, let's recap. There are 3 easy steps to improve your IELTS speaking. 1. Go to eslpod.com and find the topic you want to learn. 2. Understand and listen to the podcast. 3. Mimic the speaker's voice and talk to yourself by making sentences using new expressions. Just follow these steps and getting 8 or even 8.5 in the IELTS speaking is no longer pie in the sky. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Thank you and good luck.